As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. From the folks over at Riot, Valorant is coming to phones and mobile platforms. I love the subheadline here, but don't worry, there's no crossplay. Like, as if, I don't know why any PC gamer would be worried about that. If anything, yeah. I was hoping for that. Like, like the easiest path to Radiant ever is just picking on mobile gamers. But look, the article here is pretty self-explanatory. Riot announced that they're bringing a version of Valorant to mobile. This comes on the heels of the sort of the very, I think was a success, the tournament, the VCT Masters that they did in Iceland. And I think it came as a surprise to most people because, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you guys remember that at some point I believe someone at Riot had said, like, this is only ever going to be on PC? Or something to that effect. Like they had said, we're only focused on that because obviously people kept asking about mobile versions. But there is a quote here which I think is interesting. It's, we didn't start out with we're making Valorant on mobile. We started out with, can we make Valorant on mobile? With a lot of skepticism. For us, whatever you get out of playing on PC, you should get out of playing Valorant on mobile. But we have to recognize that the mobile player need is different. So clearly they answered their own question, since they're making the game, that they can make Valorant on mobile. Where do you guys fall on this, though? And how do you feel about this? Good, bad? From a business standpoint, from a gamer standpoint, are those answers different?
I mean, I think for Riot as a business, it's a good thing. This is their first big play in mobile, and it's clearly a huge market. So why not? They're opening up a whole bunch of other projects anyway. You know, it's been 10 years of League of Legends. I suppose it's time to really switch it up. And this seems like a good way to do it. I keep thinking about those new sort of mobile competing with the Switch devices. And I think that this could be a huge driver for those, particularly, again, in Asian countries. And particularly in low-income Asian countries. This just makes those look so much more attractive. Now that you can play, a Riot shooter game on them. Presumably, again, I'm not exactly sure how all their platform play would be consistent, but I would guess that it's some type of app you download anyway. So yeah, I think this is cool. I think it's good. I think it's good news for Riot. I think that they needed to move into the mobile space at some point. Activision Blizzard has clearly capitalized off of it. Why not another AAA developer getting into it? I'm kind of excited to see where it goes.
Definitely. I mean, from a developer consumer standpoint, right, you want to put your product in as many hands, as many screens as possible. From a audience or from a, a fan standpoint, do we want a lot of these, do we want more content that has, it's heavily influenced by aim assist or limited infrastructure? Might not be the most fun to watch, might not be the most competitive. But this isn't purely, it's not purely an esports play, right? This is more about building an audience, building your game as a brand, and recruiting people that will then watch the PC players in the tournaments, right? That will then or aspire to be on those teams because they got their taste in mobile. So I think there's a level of crossover there and kind of a funnel into that PC arena one day. But I completely agree with Lindsay that, especially in third world countries or in areas where, your everyday person can't really afford a PC, but they do have a phone or even that Steam kind of handheld device that we talked about last week, and other manufacturers of comparable devices. Listen, I'm not a big fan of FPSs on mobile, but the numbers speak for themselves, and anyone that's not looking into mobile right now, if you're a developer or building a community or a following, you're probably missing the boat.
Robert actually brings up the exact question I wanted to ask both of you, which is, as we see more AAA titles adapt to mobile, How do you all see that affecting esports tournament organization? Maybe it could be an esports play. So let me just, Robert, great question, and I want to see where Jimmy and Lindsay sort of fall on this. But let me just add on to that question, which is, Riot from the beginning has sort of been, in my mind, the premier esports company, right? Their games have, the game and now games have always been designed for esports at the highest level, like competition at the highest level, balance, meta, all those things suited for competitive play at the highest level. Valorant in the latest tournaments has shown that, League has shown that for years. And they've sort of prided themselves on being the esports company, right? By going mobile here with Valorant and also recently with League, does this dilute their reputation as sort of esports, the company that produces esports excellence from a game standpoint?
I had the opposite reaction because as someone who is a more casual gamer, it would be a lot easier for me to play this on mobile and then go and watch a tournament and understand it. So I would think that it would be an audience growing exercise rather than one that shrinks it. I think that being more accessible and more open to the public and not just reserved for people who have PCs or the understanding of PC games could be a really positive thing to actually amp up their pro scene. Because for me personally, I don't really know what it takes to be good at pro esports. I do now because, I've been working in esports for a while, but because I'm not a PC gamer, I don't have that understanding of what it takes. And being able to understand the game on mobile and then seeing the ridiculous speed and talent of people who play professional esports would just be a lot more exciting to me.
So your answer, Lindsay, to Robert is the way it affects esports is not it becomes an esport, it just provides a funnel of new audience for esports?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I think it'll do.
Do you think that's Riot's ambition and that's where it ends, though? Or do you think they have ambition to make this a standalone esport?
I think it totally depends on how popular it is. Obviously, if all of a sudden tomorrow you have 1 billion people playing Valorant mobile, throw in some prizes and some tournaments and stuff, get it going. But if it's more like people aren't really, they're playing it casually, they're not advancing in the game, they're not developing an extremely unique set of skills to play on mobile, but they're just kind of enjoying it and playing it, then I think that they will not develop it into an esport. Totally depends on the adoption and use of it as a game.
Jimmy, where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I mean, like us at XSET, right? We have a PUBG mobile team. You see it. You see it also with Warzone, or with Call of Duty and Warzone, with competitive mobile players and teams. I like the idea that it serves as another entry point for other viewers that they say, hey, I want to watch the mobile competitions because I'm a mobile player and I can learn from these people what they're doing on mobile because that's what I do. I don't think they're necessarily exclusive. I went to a Call of Duty event where they were all playing on console, right? Whether or not that's good for the industry, good for competition, that's another question. I think you're going to find people that are interested. You're going to find viewers that are interested in watching mobile gamers, that are interested in watching console gamers, just like you find them interested in watching PC gamers. So I don't want to say it's like NFL, NCAA, high school, whatever, but because they're just too different. But what they are different audiences, different handicaps, but equally interested communities, I think, that support one or the other. And to Lindsay's point about, what's Riot's ambitions, I think from as a starter, their ambition is microtransactions, right? Downloads and purchases of skins. And then like Lindsay said, and if they land on a couple, a billion or a couple, 10 million installs, like COD Mobile success was, then yeah, let's build some infrastructure around it. Why not? Like we all want it to do well, but yeah, well, this is just
because both of you have sort of made it about scale, right? Like if we get to 100 million downloads, then we'll make it an esport. I wonder why you've tied those two things together, right? They could have ambition for it to be an esport and put resources behind it when there are 10 downloads, right? Like Riot could have this as part of their strategy. I'm curious what you think is mostly their strategy, or is this about, like, look, my view is this is just a shameless cash grab is what it is. And look, as a capitalist, I can't fault them for it, right? It's
good for them. Get in on
right?
it.
But like, this is a shameless
pie.
cash grab is what it is.
But that's why I think the installs would dictate how far they take that cash grab, right? Because if the installs signify an interested community and a large viewership, then they start selling the league spots, right? And 10 million or 20 million here and there, right? So I think they tie into each other.
And neither of you believe that a full-blown Valorant mobile league with teams, with competitions, would potentially dilute the Valorant PC esports scene. Do any of you think the PC scene is hurt by a mobile scene?
I think they're different audiences, honestly.
Yeah.
I
also think Riot.
Go for it.
I just think that Riot has pretty clearly established itself as a high-end PC gaming company, and I don't think that adding something, especially something that's auxiliary, and involves one of their newer titles, particularly. Well, actually, League is coming to mobile too. I don't think it downplays them because they've had such success with PC gamers already, and you can't take that away by adding on.
So yeah, I hate agreeing with you. Not that I dislike anything you had to say. It's just for the sake of the show and argument, I hate agreeing with you.
We gotta bring Jeff back so he can yell at me.
But
where's the juice when we need him? He's gonna love hearing that, by the way.
So my students at UCI, whenever we do class exercises, they always use Valorant as an example. They always want to write their essays about Valorant. It's incredibly popular in all my classes. So again, what Lindsay said, when you add on to something, I don't know if that dilutes it. I think you just capture more people from a different perspective around the same fundamental or underlying concept.
What do you guys make of this? It seems a very specific sort of move to go to mobile before going to console, right? Like what you see more traditionally is PC, then console, then mobile, or console, then PC, then mobile, right? Like you rarely see straight from PC to mobile and sort of just completely ignore the console market. Do you guys think this is genius? It's different. It's a horrible mistake. It is mentioned in the article, but I'm curious what your take on that is.
I personally love it, right? Console games are expensive to make. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of resources. Not that mobile doesn't, but they clearly think the ROI is higher on mobile. They think the audience is going to be more perceptive to the move on mobile. And I know I believe you're not, Paul, but I'm a huge advocate and proponent of expanding the mobile esports scene just by virtue of growing our audience and raising what Adrian said, raising all ships with the tide by that one big play. And I think mobile is going to be a big player for esports over the next, not even 5, over the next 3 to 4 years. So for me, seeing Riot support mobile before consoles, that's them saying mobile is really the next wave here. Any console, any Xbox gamer might just install on mobile, or they're going to install on their PC, right? I don't know about PC, or I don't know about PlayStation gamers so much, but that support from Riot going directly to mobile signified that that's really where a lot of developers should be looking, at least for the next 3 to 4 years.
Lindsay, I was going to ask you specifically, do you think part of it is they just felt there's less overlap in the audience? Like there's more overlap between PC and console versus PC and mobile?
That's what I was going to say. I also feel like mobile is just way more of an international market. Consoles are really huge in North America, and that's awesome. And in other parts, I don't mean to downplay consoles' importance, but when we're talking about the rise in popularity of gaming, we aren't always just talking about Asia and North America. We're also talking about like South America and India and other places where consoles are maybe less popular. And this is just such a quick and easy way to get these games into the hands of people all over the world who either do or don't have access to a console. Everyone has access to a phone. I think it's much more wise to skip over the console thing and go straight to the biggest audience that you can. build up the interest in your games, build up the interest in your titles, and then boom, you have people watching your esports too. So I think that they're making a much more international play by choosing mobile than they would have if they chosen to go the console route.
Also supports your cash grab argument, Paul, right?
Yep.
When you go mobile over console.
This is a total cash grab. Okay, let's and Jimmy, just to your point, okay. I like the cash grab here, and I like the move to mobile, and I like that they did it before the going to console. Like I think these are all, like, Riot makes really great decisions many times. Like we've covered this many times on the podcast and on the live stream. I think they make very smart moves over and over again, and it's why their games are successful. And I think for all the reasons you guys mentioned, the jump to mobile before console makes a lot of sense. The jump to mobile in general makes a lot of sense from a dollars and cents standpoint. Where I think they will shoot themselves in the foot is if they put a lot of time and resources behind making Valorant mobile a legitimate competitive esport. I just don't think there's a future for mobile esports. And I know there's a lot of people who don't agree with me, and I know there's a lot of people who think I'm crazy when I say that, but when we're talking about spectator sport, people on a stage competing against each other with an audience buying hot dogs, that world is not going to care about mobile. It's a novelty right now, but come back to me in 20 years and tell me you think there's going to be a place for mobile esports there. I just don't think so.
Well, listen, I don't see mobile filling any $500 million arenas. You know, I agree with that. But I do see mobile competitions at your local internet cafe, at your local esports arena, with all the local kids that might.
Sure, but we're
otherwise be
talking
in
about
AYSO.
amateur, right? We're talking about amateur. Yeah, and
totally.
I agree. I think there's a place for that. But I would be worried if Riot was putting, millions and millions of dollars behind trying to make Valorant Mobile's pro scene a thing. I think that's where I would be concerned, because I think they would dilute a product that is really good right now. Like their PC Valorant pro scene is thriving, is doing exceptionally well. They blew, just for this last tournament, they blew Overwatch League and Call of Duty League numbers out of the water. Like it was embarrassing. The how much bigger Valorant already is than both of those franchises put together from a pro esports perspective. And so I don't know why they wouldn't just double down on the good thing they've got, right? I have an issue if they decide to make it a pro scene around this. I have no issue with the cash grab, because I get it, right? People are going to download it, spend tons of money on skins. Great for Riot. Hopefully allows them to build other great PC games. Good for the gamer. But we'll see. I think it will be interesting to watch. And I feel like, just side note, and maybe you guys, before we move on, just last reaction on this. This is totally anecdotal, because I'm sure the download numbers are very strong. I'm sure the engagement's pretty strong. Anecdotally, though, and I think we're all pretty sort of plugged into the gaming world in general, League of Legends on mobile is not exactly lighting the world on fire. This is anecdotally my feeling. I'm like, you don't hear a ton about it. You don't it's not in the news every week. You don't see pros coming out going, yeah, I want to sort of spend the next 3 years playing League of Legends mobile. I don't know. I don't know if that's just my skewed, my biased perception.
No, League of Legends is much more intimidating than Valorant, though. So I just wonder if Valorant has more likelihood of, since it's fresher, more straightforward relatively, maybe it'll be easier to adapt in a way that's engaging to a different audience.
It's funny, because Adrian brought up in the podcast, without giving too much away, he brought up Dota being one of his entry esports titles, and getting interested in the space, which is probably the most intimidating, and League is up there as well.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that, I was like, so you watched Dota and then decided I'm going all in on this, right? Because I would have watched some, Dota or League and been like, this just blows my mind, and I don't even understand what's happening here. So making League mobile, right? I don't want to say it's dumbing it down, but it is. It's putting it in front of more people in a simpler format. And again, there you have to balance these interests of what's for the good of the esport, for the good of competition, versus what's for the good of the industry and for the good of your development company and the growth of your product. And they're not always the same thing. I think more times than not, you're going to favor growth and sales than you are integrity or a fundamental core values, right? Which, sad as it may be, I think it's for the good, for the long-term good and growth.
Yeah, again, the way I sleep at night is I go, okay, all these millions will go to help them build more great PC games. This is how I sleep at night, by convincing myself of this. Whether that's true or not, or stays true or not, I don't know, but this is how I sleep at night.